Tesla is blasting off and we need to talk about it. I am Dr. Stock, Doctor of Education, and do you know what you get when you mix lemon juice with a paper cut? You get a mistake. We have strong delivery numbers from NIO, Xpeng, Li, BYD coming out of China today. Tomorrow are Tesla's quarterly deliveries, but some excitement was brought by those numbers from those Chinese companies for what could be going on with Tesla as well, maybe even giving stronger than expected delivery numbers to come up. So we're going to take a look at those delivery numbers and we'll also see some of those charts. I do want to give some updates on some other things that I've been tracking. I'll go over those very briefly for you and then we'll get into the excitement with Tesla. So first, SPY opened today, went a bit lower, and I said watch this 20-day simple moving average. We didn't get down there. It seems like we're stopping out right around 542 to 543 and then bouncing a little bit. You can see that over the past couple of days that we're having a little bit of trouble around there. So right now, with that buying pressure coming in, still good. A little bit of sideways trading over the past couple of days for SPY. Going to QQQ, we also see that dip to start off the early hours and then finding that support up above that 20-day. Again, be watching for that one. That's going to be important to us in the near term for the overall markets. Bitcoin found a bit more strength, and again, there's that 20-day acting as resistance to us for Bitcoin as we're below it. And now if we look at the RSI on the daily chart as I have here, it's trying to creep back to that 50 level. And if we look at the weekly chart on this, there we go. You can see that we never really left that bullish territory in the most recent weeks for Bitcoin. So it is possible over this next short while that we get to see a little bit further of a rally for Bitcoin. That would take us up, by the way, to about $66,000 per BTC. So be on the lookout for that. If we break up above that 20-day, that's a bullish thing. If we bounce off of that, then we have to look down to about 60,000 or this trend line that we have here for support in this this broadening wedge that we have for Bitcoin. So we'll see where that resistance happens to be. Trading volumes today doing all right. Enphase said I'd give an update. We actually have in the near term here a broadening wedge pattern which could lead to a bullish reversal off of solar if the sentiment on solar changes. We haven't quite made it back down to the bottom of this. That's something that we absolutely want to look for. Let me switch to the 4-hour view and we'll reset the chart. There we go. So we can see a little bit better of a view for what's happening here. There you go. So we have a touch over here. Again, bounce, 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 bounce. Very much ping-ponging around right now. For Enphase, we are down below this support level of at about 101, but really we could drop that down to $100 even. If I clicked on the right line, that would really help. So $100 even happens to be right about there-ish. 1, 2, 3, 4. Now it's perfectly at $100 for this yellow line going straight across here. So we are in bearish territory for solar stocks in general, and Enphase moving right along with it, but making a really nice pattern here. We can see that volatility move us back up to about 105. Nvidia is really fighting to make it up above this trend line. If it does, that can help break this pattern that we're starting to see as we look at the hourly chart for Nvidia, a head and shoulders pattern, which could have us seeing some softer prices coming soon, which could create some buying opportunities. If you go back and watch my earlier videos where I covered Nvidia, just look for the one that has Nvidia, Bitcoin, and Tesla in the thumbnail, and you'll see it. So for this one, if we do happen to break down through this neckline that we have here at about 118, we could sell off down to about 108, 110-ish, I think are those prices. I think it is not necessarily a great time to short Nvidia, but it could be a good time for dollar cost averaging. None of this is financial advice, by the way. These are just some thoughts that I have that I wanted to share with you. All right, to the EV stuff now. So we're going to take a look at the performance of NIO, Xpeng, and Li today to see how they're doing, and then we'll get right into the Tesla-specific information. So NIO, put this up here for you. NIO right now up over 7% as we look at the charts. And if we look to see where they're performing right now, we are down below this 20-period simple moving average. Actually, let me take away the EMAs here. There we go. So you can see, as per the Bollinger Bands that we have in blue, the dark blues that are on here, we get some narrowing, so that could be some decreased volatility there. This could be the start of a larger move up, but we are down below the 50-day simple moving average. That's this light blue line. Here, I'll take away the Bollinger Bands so you can see it better. And then we're also down below the 200, so we're in bearish territory. As far as NIO's involved right now, as far as NIO is concerned, it is possible that we see a little bit of an inverse head and shoulders peekaboo in here out for us, and then that would also give us a diagonal or a slanted neckline that would be on this thing right about there. So you can see that what we'd have to break back over, and I think we'd be limited buy that 50, but man, oh man, that's way up there. That's up over $7 per share as of this recording. So that would be incredible upside for NIO. We'd have to see continued strength for EVs. It couldn't just be this one and done day. That is something to consider as we watch the EV prices change today. Li Auto up just under 7%, 6.74 as I read it from this. Now this one, if we look at the EMAs that are on here, up above the 5, up above the 13, we're moving up above this SMA, which is a 20-period simple moving average on the daily chart here. And so for this one, we want to see that full candle close up above that. We could flip for Li into bullish territory, at least in the near term, but we are, just like with NIO, we're down below the 50 and the 200-day, well below them. So right now, not necessarily great to trade in a long position on this. Would be something that would set us up against the trend, which that would then assume that our market timing is correct. So we want to be watching for that. We have broken out of the descending wedge. That could be the sign of a bullish reversal. But when we look at the RSI is not quite there yet on the daily chart, that we're well below the 50. And then moving over to Xpeng, here we have an inverse head and shoulder that I was covering and that I talked about with my stock group. And for this one, you could see we move about $2 up above the neckline as indicated here by the head of this thing for this inverse head and shoulders pattern, and the all-time low price 618. So this, again, still down below the 50, down below the 200 in bearish territory. RSI creeping up on 50 but hasn't crossed it into bullish territory yet. So if this is a one and done, Chinese autos, EV I should say, all three companies that I just covered, they'll settle back down and sell off probably a little bit longer from here. However, if they do have continued good news coming out of China, maybe some further stimulus happening in China, maybe we see further signs of buying and more bullishness come into the Chinese EV space. Now over to Tesla. Tesla, check this out. We'll look at this and then we'll take a look at the delivery information that can be expected coming up about 6.1% as of the time of this recording. Where do we peak out today so far? 213. I wouldn't be surprised if we sold off and there was some profit taking now that we've finally broken solidly up over $200 per share. So when we opened the day today, the low price was 200 and we opened at 201.02. So excellent, and the volume is actually looking pretty decent on this too. It's not the biggest volume spike like you had back here, but it is among the higher volumes that we have. So not the biggest volume confirmation. I think that we could have much better volume confirmation following their quarterly deliveries tomorrow. And along that side of things, let me put this up here for you, and let's look at the delivery update from last quarter. So here we go. This is Tesla's investor deck. And so what they had last quarter that didn't go so hot was 386,000 deliveries in the first quarter of 2024. And what is being projected right now? Well, there's a guy on Twitter, Troy Teslike. If you haven't found him, go ahead and find him. This is his information. I don't know him, no affiliation with him. I just know that this is, from what I can tell, exactly what he does, and he's really good at it. So if you don't know him, go ahead and check him out. He gets referred to a lot by even big media sources that are out there as well because of the in-depth homework that he does. So right here he says about the delivery estimates for Q2, his estimate 423,000, analyst consensus 441,000. And so for those, how do they compare against what we had last quarter? For the deliveries, 386, that'd still be well above that. It is actually could be a little bit better than what we had by either estimate a year ago, so that would at least show growth on a year-over-year basis, but it would still be down from the peak of this thing at 484,000, almost 485,000 vehicles delivered. And so you can go ahead and see his estimates. Again, if you go ahead and look them up, make sure that you're signed into X in order to do it so you get the chronological order the way that it should be, because this was just posted. Let me zoom out of there, and I should be able to tell you when this thing was posted. Let me back out of that too. There we go. So this post came out 23 hours ago, so it was yesterday as we look at it. And he also includes his error rates, and he also talks about the data sources that he used. So he's not just guessing, and I find him to be a very reliable source of information and a very transparent source of information as well. And that's one of the reasons why I happen to like him so much. So what does Tesla look like going forward from here? Well, we need that delivery information tomorrow. If we get good information tomorrow, something that the market actually likes, then this is something that can really send us in a bullish direction, more so than what we're at right now. And along the lines of bullishness, let's go back to those technicals so we can talk a little bit more. And let me pop up the correct chart for you. There we go. So along the lines of bullishness, this is the 200-day. breaking up above that on good volume, that's a bullish thing. That could lead us to a golden cross situation, which we finally blast out of the top of this trend line. And if you haven't seen my other videos, I've been talking now for a while about this monthly chart for Tesla. Check this thing out. This thing will blow your mind if you haven't seen it before. So to go out to where every candle represents 1 month of time for Tesla, this top trend line goes all the way back to November of 2021, that we keep on getting rejected off of that for, well, 2.5 years. We're moving into 3 years. By November of this should be a third year, and now we could possibly be narrowing enough and getting enough momentum to finally push us up over that. Well, where does the monthly RSI happen to be for this thing right now? It happens to be sitting at 49.56. We could be fresh for a cross up above the 50 on a monthly basis, which could be a signal for a much longer term trend move upward for Tesla if we're able to solidly move up above that, especially if it's on good volume. Let's shrink it down to where every candle represents 1 week. We're actually hitting the 50 weekly and then getting a little bit of rejection off of that, and that should be something that would be expected. We are well into bullish territory at this point in time. Matter of fact, we crossed over the 50 last week. We actually had a very strong week for Tesla then as well. Well, where's this trend line put us? Let's go down to the daily chart, and I'll reset the view on that as well so we get a nice clear view of this. Well, where that puts us at in the near term for Tesla, so let's say out to their earnings date itself, that's $229 per share if we get rejected to that trend line. So if we get positive delivery news, or I should say news that's received positively by the markets for Tesla tomorrow, that can be the thing that allows that to be a positive catalyst, which really pushes us towards that golden cross scenario leading up to earnings on the 17th of June. So we're going to be watching for that. It's a Wednesday. I'm sorry, 17th of July. My goodness. July, Dr. Stock. But yeah, Wednesday, the 17th of July is when those earnings come out. And again, if delivery news is received in a positive manner by the markets, this top trend line could be blown out of the water. And finally, we take something that we've been working on for 2.5 years to blow out of the top of this thing, and then moving up for a strong move up on this one. And then it's up to earnings to move us up beyond that. So with deliveries, that could easily send us up above this top trend line. Well, where does it peak out? Probably around, I would say, $240-ish per share. That's if the market receives it positively. If it's not able to, because that's a really strong line of resistance for us, we're still up around 230, which from where we're at right now is about, we'll say 7 to 10%. It's going to be a little bit less than 10%, 7, 8% from where we're at right now, depending on how long it takes us in order to get there. If we're there a little bit sooner, then we're a little bit higher on this line of resistance. We can push up above that. So I'll go back to what I said originally, 7 to 10%, moving us up there for Tesla's stock price. So we want to really be watching this to see just how high we can go on this. And I think that run up to earnings will be very bullish. Again, if tomorrow's deliveries are received, that they come out and that they beat consensus, we're going to have to watch and see. If we do happen to fall short of consensus estimates, that necessarily, it's not completely a bearish thing for us, but it's definitely not going to help us out. And if it quickly rips us back down below the 200 and even more quickly takes us back down and retest the 50, that could be a very bearish sign for us. So we're going to be on the lookout for that as well, that not everything is necessarily sunshine or rainbows, but China is a very huge market, and seeing those positive numbers coming out of China for the other companies is something that is a very good sign for the Tesla deliveries in China as well, and then supporting what Tesla has overall for the entire quarter. So I think it's an exciting time to be watching Tesla, and if you're a long-term holder like I am, congratulations, that this has probably been very good for you, as it's been very good for me, and very good for a lot of people in my stock group. And if you guys are interested in joining that stock group and seeing my buys and sells, how I'm playing this market, and talk with me and my other community members, there's a link for the Patreon, which is how you get access to the Discord, which is where the magic happens, by using the link that's down in the description. So go ahead and click that and sign up. Also down in the description, you'll find a link to a technical analysis trading course with easily digestible information that can really bring power to your portfolio. So thank you guys for watching. I really do appreciate it. I am Dr. Stock, Doctor of Education. Remember, my friends, that learning is earning, and we'll see you in the next video.